It was one of those nights where the world feels too still to be real. The clock on the nightstand glowed 1:03 a.m. when my phone buzzed. Half asleep, I reached for it, expecting a random notification. Instead, I saw a message from an unfamiliar number. "Hi, this is Mark Tanner, your wife's boss. She's still at the office finishing a project. She'll call you later, she's busy right now." For a second, I thought I was dreaming. My wife, Claire, had said she was working late, but this? A message from her boss at that hour, explaining why she couldn't even send a text herself. It felt wrong. I sat up, the dim blue light from my phone spilling across the sheets. I reread the message twice, each time feeling my chest tighten a little more. It wasn't jealousy that hit me first, it was confusion. Why was her boss the one updating me at 1 in the morning? I didn't reply. Instead, I stared at the screen, wondering if I should call her. I decided against it. I didn't want to seem paranoid. But sleep was out of the question. By 2 a.m., my thoughts were racing. Maybe the project deadline was serious. Maybe she'd asked him to text because her phone had died. Still, something about the tone, "she's busy and will call later," felt too personal. When Claire finally came home around 6:30 a.m., she looked exhausted, hair tied loosely, makeup faded. I met her in the hallway. She froze when she saw me awake. "You didn't sleep?" she asked. I shook my head. "Your boss texted me," I said quietly. Her eyes widened, and for a split second, I saw something flicker behind them. Shock, maybe guilt, maybe both. She dropped her bag on the floor. "He what?" she asked. I handed her my phone. She read the message, her expression tightening. "That's weird," she said finally. "I didn't ask him to do that. We were working on the campaign. He must have thought he was helping." I watched her closely. "Helping?" I repeated. "At 1 a.m.? She sighed, rubbing her temples. "Ethan, please. It was a long night. We had to redo an entire proposal. I didn't even notice he sent you anything until now." I didn't argue, but I also didn't believe her completely. "Then you should probably talk to him about boundaries," I said. Because that message crossed one. For the next few days, things were quiet but tense. Claire tried to act normal, cooking breakfast, asking about my work, pretending nothing had happened. But I could tell the message lingered between us like a ghost. One evening, I decided to end the silence. "Claire," I said, "if there's something going on, pressure from work, from him, I need to know. You don't have to face it alone." She looked at me for a long moment, then her eyes softened. "There's nothing romantic," she said. "But you're right. It's not healthy. Mark's been crossing lines lately, late calls, messages, expecting me to stay longer than everyone else. I kept telling myself it was normal because he's demanding with everyone. But that text to you, it made me realize it's not." That was the first honest thing she'd said about it. I told her calmly, "Then you need to set boundaries. Or walk away from that job before it starts changing who you are." She nodded but looked scared. "If I leave, I lose everything I've worked for," she whispered. I reached across the table, taking her hand. "No," I said. "You lose nothing. You find peace. That's worth more." The next morning, she went to work early. Around noon, she called me, her voice steady but emotional. "I talked to HR," she said. "I showed them the message. They said they'd handle it. I'm not staying there anymore, Ethan. I'm done." I didn't say anything for a few seconds, just breathed in relief. She continued, "I didn't realize how much fear I'd built up. When he texted you, it felt like he was telling you he owned my time. That's when I saw what I'd become, someone afraid to speak up." That evening, she came home lighter, almost glowing. She told me she'd already received another offer from a smaller company that valued her work-life balance. "They don't need me to stay past midnight," she said, smiling faintly. I told her, "They'll get your best hours, not your leftover ones." For the first time in months, she laughed, really laughed, and that sound felt like a door opening. Weeks passed, and life slowly returned to normal. One night, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, she turned to me and said, "When you stayed calm that night, when you didn't accuse me, didn't shout, it changed everything. I realized you weren't angry because of jealousy. You were hurt because of respect." I nodded. "Respect," I said softly, "is what love looks like when it grows up." Now, that single 1 a.m. message feels like a lifetime ago. It could have broken us, but instead it became a mirror, showing us how fragile trust can be, and how powerful it becomes when handled with grace. Claire learned that success isn't worth peace, and I learned that sometimes, silence at the right moment speaks louder than rage ever could. That night, her boss thought he was in control of her time. But my reply, not a text, not a confrontation, just calm truth, reminded her that no one owns her except herself. And that realization changed her life forever.